welcome to episode 2 of Everything Left, the podcast where we take a look at the news, current events, and discuss the stories that everyone needs to know about. Joining me again for the second episode, we have Han.
Hello.
And Addy.
Hi.
Welcome back, guys.
I have to stop doing the hello.
It's to affirm your Britishness.
Oh, is that what it is? I think it's just because I panic. So what's the next topic, oh hostess?
Yes, we've got topics, haven't we? Oh, it's such a light episode. We've got so many nice things to talk about. Shall we talk about the horrible things happening in the UK at the minute with racism?
There's been a significant rise in hate crime in the last few months. Did you see the wonderful new UKIP offshoot?
There's an offshoot of UKIP.
There's an offshoot of UKIP, which is, I think it's called, I really don't want to put this on my search bar, but it's basically the resurgence of Mary Whitehouse and her ilk. But it's basically, it's a side of UKIP that's called something like UKIP Shield, and it's all about we're a Christian country and we should get back to our ancient laws and tradition of Christianity. And it's basically like taking shit from the Crusades.
They want to become Catholic again?
I mean like it's taking symbols from the Crusade, like the shield with the cross on it and shit like that. It's just more bullshit.
So is this just a group of UKIP people who found UKIP to be too tolerant and loving, so started their own group?
Probably.
Ugh.
I agree with the fact that maybe a lady from a lake should elect your next leader.
Muscular defence of our Christian heritage and our Christian constitution.
I don't know what
I can't actually find it, unfortunately.
I don't know what you guys think about this, but one thing that I seem to have seen is that there's definitely an increase in these kind of things, and the level of things that are going on, it just seems to be getting worse. Let's just lay the cards on the table. Is this a result of Brexit? Is this the country thinking it's okay to go out and be horrible to people who they see as not British, even if they've been born in this country? Coming from that point of view, do you think, or is there something else that spurred this on?
I think that it's well documented that when fear is stirred up, people drift to the right. That people see violence and protection as a response to fear. And I think that Brexit did an awful lot to stir up a lot of fear among uneducated people in this country. Not to mention the fact that people like Britain First and other right-wing groups, I mean, this is the downside of social media and downside of the internet, that you can get yourself into a bubble that only confirms your point of view. And if that's a very negative point of view, then you can find people to feed that fear and feed that hate. Then it becomes only a short distance shouting about it on the internet to actually feeling so impotent and so rage-filled that you feel like your only course of action is violence against somebody who you perceive as other or not normal or not British or whatever delusion they have in their head that makes it seem right that they can attack another human being without provocation.
I don't know if you guys have seen this. Hannah, you probably have. Addy, it's a fairly local story to me and Hannah, so I don't know if you've seen this. A man kicked a woman in the stomach and killed her unborn baby because she wasn't white.
Has he actually? Because I know he was caught. Did he give any justification or reasons?
I think
not that there are any justifications or reasons, but I'm always interested.
His justification would be, I felt like it.
Yeah, probably.
And I don't like other people.
And the internet told me that it would be a good idea, and it was actually fine to do because they're not really people, are they?
Are you talking about the internet or politicians or him specifically?
I'm just talking about the whole kind of being in a bubble that conforms to your point of view, and there are so many hate groups now that, you know, who would have cheered this guy on.
Yeah, but I think one of the main reasons we saw an uprising after Brexit is because it supposedly got this entire concept of being allowed, because you've supposedly left the foreigners. You're no longer part of European community, which is bullshit because you kind of still have to trade with people in the European community.
Wow. Sorry, I'm just reading a story. Hate crimes in July 2016 was 60% higher than July 2015. So that's
exactly what I mean. It's the fact that supposedly after Brexit is people got justification for their hate crimes because we agreed that we're no longer part of this group, of the European group. We do not have to hold back anymore because now this is our country, we can take it back. And the fact that a lot of people who, quite frankly, are disgusting, get time in public view, like you guys have that weird buck-toothed goblin person, UKIP leader.
Oh, Nigel Farage.
I was going to say, you have to narrow it down, buck-toothed goblin person. Yeah.
That's why it's hip.
The UK, that's a sweeping description, Addie.
How many goblins do you guys have?
Oh,
We're
about...
about 40% goblins.
Yeah.
No wonder people want to leave you guys.
There was a phrase that was used around the time of the campaign for Brexit from the people who wanted to remain, where people said, not everyone who's voting leave is a racist, but every racist is voting leave.
Yeah.
I'm not saying everyone who voted leave, that was it 52% of the UK population are anti-Europe, that they're racist, that they may have actually thought it would benefit us. But for those people who are in that group, who are coming from it from a don't like foreign people point of view, they've just seen 52% of the population of the UK agree with them. So it's like, well, that's more than half. So yeah, it's okay to go out and paint swastikas on temples and kick pregnant women in the stomach and tell people who are born in this country to go back home because their skin is darker than mine.
No, that's actually a very good point, that the Brexit vote gave the people a comfort in thinking it was probably the 48% of non-white people that voted to leave, and every right-minded person wants them out. Therefore, it's given them just a further justification. That's a really good point.
Yeah, and even where I am, I live just down the road from Leicester, which is one of the more multicultural cities in the UK, especially in the area me and Hannah are from. And even there, the amount of hate crime that's gone up, like, my partner works at the University of Leicester and said that there's people have come along and started writing really horrific anti-Muslim stuff at the uni, and it's just astounding how quickly it seemed to descend into people feeling that they had free reign. And luckily I've not experienced anything like this myself, I've not seen it myself, but it seems to be every day now that there's new reports. Like, Hannah, you yourself brought up the
Fire set that one.
Yeah, in Edinburgh. So it's not England, but it's still part of the UK, still part of the whole same mindset, even though Scotland voted much greater than the rest of the UK to stay in the EU. It's still happening even up there. You know, they tried to set fire to a mosque. From the sound of it, they were absolutely terrible at it because they burnt the door and set fire to a bush. But at the same time, it's still a hate crime, and it's still escalating. And I don't know where this is going to go, where it's going to end. Like, how bad is this going to get?
Here's something really uplifting and wonderful that I just read on The Independent. Criticising Theresa May's record as Home Secretary and her endorsement of advertising bans telling illegal immigrants go home or face arrest, the authors of Post-Referendum Racism and Xenophobia say, if a hostile environment is embedded politically, it can't be a surprise that it takes root culturally. Singling Ms May out as one of those who helped create such a hostile environment, the report records that in 2012, Theresa May, the then Home Secretary, used a newspaper interview to declare, the aim is to create here in Britain a really hostile environment for illegal migration. The report says, this was brought to fruition in July 2013 when the Home Office deployed mobile ad vans in 6 London boroughs telling people to go home or face arrest. Around a quarter of the incidents recorded in our database specifically used the words go home or leave. It is not unreasonable to see the Vote Leave campaign, with its central focus on immigration, as a continuation of this politically mainstream, hostile stance towards immigration and xeno-racist narrative. What a lovely, lovely person Theresa May is.
Yeah, no, she's not.
That was sarcasm for all those playing along at home.
Well, she's even, to connect to one of their other stories we were going to talk about with Theresa May, is she's turned around and attacked the idea of safe spaces, which I know is a hot topic for many people, the idea of somehow safe spaces are destroying free speech, which it's preposterous, because opinions that gay people are paedophiles or people of different ethnicities are criminals, or, you know, those kind of opinions, they're not an opposing viewpoint, they are just wrong. But apparently trying to stop that is evil, and people should be allowed to come to universities and places of learning and spout all that stuff. And if you want to stop that, you are oppressive and destroying the fabric of society. And that's the view that Theresa May seems to have. She thinks that safe spaces is silencing important viewpoints.
Freedom of speech is a fundamental British value, which is undermined by so-called safe spaces in our universities, where a sense of righteous entitlement by a minority of students that means that their wish not to be offended shuts down debate. As students around the country return to their places of learning at the start of this new academic year, does my right honourable friend agree that university is precisely the place for lively debate, and that fear of being offended must not trump freedom of speech?
Well, I absolutely agree with my honourable friend We want our universities not just to be places of learning, but to be places where there can be open debate, which is challenged, and people can get involved in that. And I think everybody is finding this concept of safe spaces quite extraordinary. Frankly, we want to see that innovation of thought taking place in our universities. That's how we develop as a country, as a society, and as an economy, and I absolutely agree with my honourable friend.
The point is that people use the concept of free speech as an agreement, or they're allowed to say hate. And then it's like, it's my free speech. And it's like, actually, technically and legally, it's not under the free speech because that's call to violence.
Absolutely.
So, fuck off.
And the other thing is as well, people are like, well, it's my right to say that. It's like, okay, yes, you can say that, but we also have the right to turn around and hold you to account for what you have said. Having the right to say it does not give you a magic Super Mario star. You don't get to call someone a horrific thing and then walk away untouched. You should get held accountable for that, because free speech also lets the people who would oppose your opinion have their opinion.
And I would never take away the right to free speech in certain arenas, but where I work, we have a social media policy, and if somebody was espousing hate or intolerance or calls to violence or anything like that on social media, they would actually be disciplined for it in their workplace, because my work understands that we deal with cross-section of people, culturally, socially, and if somebody holds that view in private, then that's going to affect their job. And it seems a shame that those sorts of rights, and I think that things like Michelle Rodriguez saying, oh, it's not that deep, it's fine, I think that completely misses the point that the media informs so many people's opinions on the world. And this is going way off topic, and I do apologise, but it's just an example. I had a stand-up row about 50 Shades of Grey because I was saying it's a horrible book, it's anti-feminist, it gives a really, really bad lesson to young women, and she turned around and went, oh, you're making too much of it, it's just a bit of entertainment. And I'm like, no, you're completely missing the point, because entertainment is just as powerful a message sender as politics and news. And in fact, a lot of people who get so disengaged from newspapers or actually news outlets do get their information and do form their opinions from mass media, from entertainment. Yeah. And people just don't seem to understand the impact of that, and the impact of these newspapers. I'm part of the Stop Funding Hate group because they're trying to get, there's a, I don't know if you know this, Addy, there's a number of quite right-wing newspapers in the UK, and this group Stop Funding Hate is boycotting the advertisers in those newspapers, saying if you stopped advertising in those newspapers, they would lose money, and we want them to lose money because they're espousing hate, and therefore we're not going to use your products whilst you still advertise with them, because by advertising with them, you're agreeing with them, you're agreeing with their point of view. And I think that can be a very powerful, because, you know, unfortunately, money talks. I've gone off topic, I'm sorry.
Because before we strictly stayed on the topic.
I know.
Of lesbian lizard. Yeah, so when I was in university, we actually had several courses on the concept of the importance of media, because my actual degree is in media studies, and I narrowed down to film and TV. And then one of the things we learned is that people researched the concept of what is called the waves of impact. So the first wave, people thought media has exploded, so it's 100% impact. And then it went down to about 20%, meaning people are actually smarter than what they seem, so they're not as impacted. And today we rose to the third wave, which is 95% impact, because people are immersed in so much media today, and we gain so much information from media. And that's exactly the issue, is that people constantly use that excuse of it's just a book, it's just a movie, it's just a TV show. And as a person who knows the industry from the inside, I can tell you that's bullshit.
There's no just about it.
Because it may be just a book, but that book could have killed someone, saved someone's lives, and put someone in an abusive relationship, or it could have destroyed an entire family. You don't know. The point is, everything we put out into the world, big or small, impacts at least one person's life. And I have a friend, which I've talked with Amy about. She's the one I'm bringing in November, and she actually does know the community from the inside. And we talked about what 50 Shades of Grey did. And she said 50 Shades of Grey is abuse. Plain and simple. She signs a contract when she's inebriated. He stalks her. He manipulates her. He controls her life. Even outside of the community, this is not a healthy relationship. Claiming this is part of the BDSM community, that's just ruining the community itself. Because
Oh yeah, absolutely. But
they
they never.
have rules and they have laws and they have ways of protecting people's health and
Yep.
safety.
And everyone I know in the community was completely against, as soon as it became famous, because so many people in the community are already stereotyped as deviant or perverted. And then all of a sudden, this book is advertised as, it's a little bit naughty, a little bit saucy, and ooh. And then it just gave such a negative, harmful, disrespectful, wrong portrayal of a smart, safe, supportive community. It's just another way which has distorted, quote unquote, normal people's views of something that they don't know anything about, and if that's the only source of information they get, they're going to continue to be misinformed about it.
No, the point is that a lot of people in the community, and it's regarding a lot of issues when it comes to media, they claim that the person who created this piece of media did not do the research, which I don't know if she did her research.
They didn't. It was originally written as Twilight fan fiction by a very young woman who had no fucking idea
How to write.
or anything about
Apparently,
it.
she also had no idea how to have sex, because that's
No.
what I gathered from that book.
I will hold my hands up and say I haven't read it.
I haven't read that book. I'm just quoting friends of mine because they're like, how the fuck does he do half the things he does?
I'm gonna have to hold my hands up and admit, just out of morbid curiosity, I had to force myself through the first book. And I say force myself because it was a slog. Because I try to read most things that are popular, just see why and understand. Because like you were saying, Andy, these things, they do change society, they inform people's opinions. So have a look at what's hot, because it will have an effect. But this book was just, oh god, it is awful.
But I remember at the time when it came out, there was one supermarket chain in England, and it was all over social media. They did this display where it was copies of 50 Shades of Grey and then batteries.
Ugh.
And the whole thing was, women are going to masturbate to this book. Hee 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 hee, aren't we sex
But they
positive?
can't, because there's no
And
good
it's like,
porn in
and
it.
it's no. I know of so many fabulously written, truthful, sex-positive books that are written better, that are honest about the kink community. I mean, I've got loads of friends who are kinky writers, who are trying to get books published, and it's like, no, this is the one that became famous, and it's just such a negative when you actually had the opportunity to create a dialogue, a really interesting dialogue about feminine sexuality and turn this into a more sex-positive country, and so women are finally coming out and saying, oh yes, I do masturbate, and that's a good thing, but you're masturbating to shit. I'm sorry.
It's like, allegedly I've never committed murder, and yet
Allegedly, I'm a bit worried about that.
I can neither confirm nor deny. It's like, I've never committed murder as much as anyone in this spot knows, and I can write a better murder story than she can write a sex story. But can that murder actually be a documentary? Because I'd really love to push a few people under a bus.
I would rather not. I'm a pacifist, and I don't know.
I didn't say I'd push you under a bus, nor you will push anyone under a bus.
No, but still, I don't believe in taking life. I think it's okay to wish that people weren't born.
Yeah, but then we wouldn't know how shits they were.
But if you want to kill somebody, surely you want to kill somebody to make the world a better place, right?
You don't believe in murder, but you believe in the Terminator method of preventing them from being born. So if Hannah had a time machine that would send her back in time naked, she would use that every chance she got.
It's the butterfly effect, because if that person wasn't born, they wouldn't have done the terrible thing.
Yeah,
We
so
wouldn't
the world
have
would be a better place.
benefited from their terrible act and wouldn't have known how shits they were. So, killing someone as a baby is pointless. It's like saying, I'm going to go back in time and kill baby Hitler. Don't do that, because people are still going to be racist and anti-Semitic in that time. The Jewish country would have started, and lots of lives wouldn't have been saved right now. So, the concept of, I would rather people not be born, is against the point.
I mean, there is the argument that if you went back to before Hitler was born and made his mother sterile, then yes, it wasn't just Hitler. It was the climate at the time and the feeling of the people. And we don't know from this point if Hitler hadn't been born, whether it wouldn't have been somebody else who was in his place. I've just talked myself out of my own point. I was saying it purely from a kind of like, I don't believe in capital punishment. I would never wish anyone harm. I don't honestly believe that anybody is irredeemably evil.
That's beyond the point. It doesn't matter if the person is irredeemably evil. The point is the person has done an evil deed that hurt a lot of people.
Yeah.
So
they deserve to die for that.
It depends. How evil was the deed? Let's say Hitler did deserve to die. He did kill 15 million people.
He did.
Now let's see today's dictators. Let's say Putin. His name is hilarious to say. Let's say Putin. Dictator, obviously. Bad man, pretty agreed upon. Deserves to die.
I can't say yes.
Destroy her.
I'm sorry. I don't believe that it's not a practical viewpoint, and I completely understand that the viewpoint I have is based more on just my own personal experiences, because I don't think it's enough to say Putin deserves to die. I think in order to make that judgment on somebody, you would have to be okay with or prepared to pull the trigger yourself.
You don't know my ability to murder.
No, that's true. I don't. But I know personally that if I had a stone cold opportunity to shoot Vladimir Putin in the face, I could not do it. Because in a way, when it comes to sheer numbers, then it's incomparable. But to take one human life should be comparable to taking millions. Yeah, I could not do it. I could not take another human life. And therefore, I feel personally that I cannot condemn somebody to die, because I would not myself be prepared to do it. And I'm not saying that that's a rational viewpoint at all.
Okay, fine. So you're not the executioner.
But I also believe that violence only ever begets violence.
But the point is, we do need to find out how to address it.
Yes.
So you'd think it would be better for a person, more beneficial, to be locked up for 50 years.
Again, you see, it's the difference between practical and emotional. Because practically, incarceration without rehabilitation doesn't work. Practically, from a monetary point of view, executing somebody is much cheaper for the average taxpayer than incarcerating somebody for 50 years. But from an emotional point of view, if I believe in the worth of humanity, and I am a humanist, if I believe that all people have the capacity for love, the capacity for kindness, the capacity for joy, you have to attempt to rehabilitate. You can't just end someone's life. Because once you start making that arbitrary decision that somebody has done something that you define as evil and you end their life without knowing anything, and again, I'm not defending Putin or Hitler or anybody like this, without understanding the motivation behind that, because you can then start looking at people with mental illness or looking at people with learning disabilities, and it's a slope that starts with good intentions and ends with people being killed for more arbitrary reasons, I feel.
So this is a very morbid topic.
Yeah, are you okay?
Yeah, I just...
Do you have an opinion on it?
No, I'm not going to weigh in on this one.
Okay.
I was just listening to two opposing sides and seeing where you both went with that. It was interesting.
I think that's the definition of discussion. See, that's the difference between people who actually listen to each other than people who just do it to get their opinion heard, because we actually talked and no one yelled.
I've just been watching Battlestar Galactica, and there's a line that the president says to the person who's going to take over as president, and she says to him, I worry about you because sometimes you're always so intent on doing what's right, you don't always do what's smart. And that resonates with me, because I completely know that my whole philosophy about wanting to always think that there is good in everybody and that people deserve to have that brought out of them is not rational, it's not practical. It comes from Some might even call it naivete, but from just like my optimism and my, in a more extended way, the belief that if we want to evolve as species into the kind, loving, generous, all-inclusive society that I know in my heart we can become, at some point we have to draw a line and say, these are bad things no matter what reasoning we are giving for them. And to me, murder of anybody is a bad thing. Whether you can justify that execution as being for the good of the masses, I think in order to evolve as human beings and evolve as fully compassionate beings, at some point we will just have to make the choice that we cannot make that decision.
But the point is where do you draw the line? At what point do you as a person think this person has gone too far?
I mean, that's another question. And everyone goes back to Hitler, and you could kind of put that as a pretty cold example. Is that where we draw the line? I mean, I know in America, in the states that still have capital punishment, they have a number of people that if you kill, say, 5 people, that's fine, you get life imprisonment. If you kill 10 people or anything above 10, then you get put to death. And somebody has made that decision. Somebody has decided your life is equal to X number of other people's lives. And again, from a practical point of view, I totally understand that people feel the need to make those decisions. But I'm very glad that I'm not in a position where I do have to make those decisions, because I would honestly struggle with it. And I can't answer the question of where to draw the line, because I don't know. And I think as well, I'm also a benefit of my own privileged existence. You know, I was born quite middle class in a country that for the most part is genuinely quite liberal, although there's much more of a split now than there was maybe 10 years ago. And I've never had to face much trauma or hardship or people attempting to oppress me or anything like that. So I know that I come from that point of view, and if I did have personal experience with that, I think maybe my personal reactions would be very different, because I'm talking from a very kind of la 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 la, everyone should be fantastic kind of point of view.
To weigh in slightly on this, and I'm not taking a side, it's just, I think with this kind of situation as well, it's depending on who you are, where you're from, your beliefs, everyone has a way of justifying everything. So whether it's this person has killed 10 people, so therefore they should have their own life taken, to there are countries where it's like, well, we don't like the fact that you love someone of the same gender, to us that's abhorrent, so we should take your life. I think anyone listening to this will be on the same page as us of, you know, there are certain things that are evil, but to those people who commit those evil acts, they are not evil. It's like they say in fiction, the villain is the hero of his own piece, and it's that way in real life. You know, we as enlightened people will turn around and say ISIS are a horrific organisation, they do these horrible things, but to them they're doing good, they're stopping the rest of the world doing these horrible things. It's that there's never going to be a right or a wrong in this, because it depends on your point of view, your politics, your beliefs. It's again, to go back to like how this conversation started, it's like, look at the people who are going out telling foreign people leave this country, or attacking women wearing religious headdresses, or trying to set fire to buildings that worship a different god. To them, that's the right thing to do, because it's threatening their world, their existence. There's no definitive answer of what is good, what is bad, who should be punished, who shouldn't, and at what point, because that's why the world's in this situation, because everyone has a different opinion on it.
But yeah, I that's sort of why I feel that at some point, in order to evolve away from all this, everybody in the world has to come to the consensus that nobody can take anybody else's life, no matter what the justification is. And it's never going to happen, because nobody's ever going to agree it. But to me, that's the only way. Everybody in the world says we no longer take human life, period.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah, I know. It's naive, it's optimistic. It's never going to happen.
To be honest, I never said that I agree with the concept of killing someone for killing someone. I said that people we view as evil, people we've proven are not good, should pay. And that we should take what bad things they did and learn from them, and not cancel out the bad they did, because then we lose the opportunity to learn from it.
That's a good way of putting things, yeah.
Because that's exactly what I said. I said that's why I disagree with
that's why
killing baby Hitler.
Killing baby Hitler, because
obviously, if we take away the variable, then the question is, what will happen next? And the point is, what if we insert someone else? What if we insert someone worse, someone smarter, someone who actually succeeded? Would have happened if we just took out Hitler from the equation?
No, it wouldn't. It's a simplified solution to an incredibly complex problem, because Hitler did not do what he did in a vacuum by any stretch of the imagination. And I also am a very firm believer on a personal level that bad experiences can have very positive benefits. And to have the simple solution of, well, let's just cancel this person from history is ridiculous. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm arguing anymore.
I think at this point...
I feel like I'm just talking shit at this point.
I think at this point we've had a long discussion. I think it's down to the listeners to decide how they see this one. There's never going to be an agreement, but every side in this has valid points.
Absolutely,
It's
yeah.
and we went a lot deeper than I thought we would.
And it's very interesting as well, because I think that, sorry, I'm not pigeonholing you, Addie, and if I'm wrong, then please feel free to not shoot me down, shout me down. But,
You heard her. She gave me permission. I'm allowed to use violence.
Yeah, and it's recorded, Hannah, as well. That's the thing. It's
Score.
to be on a left-wing podcast and actually have a discussion of that nature as well is pretty cool, I think.
Surprise.
that's what we're trying to do. Hopefully people have still listened to this point as well. To the one person who has stayed to the end, thank you.
Thank you. I want to make another point, because I haven't talked enough, obviously, and that's that another thing that fear and reactionary things actually do is they help to dehumanize other people.
Yes.
And that is such a strong contributor to violence against other people, is that there are places where people are dehumanized to the extent where the people perpetuating the violence don't see. You know, when you hear about people abusing children and things, it's like, you cannot see that child as an actual human being, otherwise you would not do that.
Yeah, it's like people slut shaming or victim blaming when it comes to rape. You don't see that woman or that man or that person as an actual human being, because you view them as an object that needs to be hidden. Otherwise, the other person wouldn't have done it. It's not that person's fault, it's your fault. So that's exactly the point. That's the point, that a group of people gain supposed moral superiority over a different group of people and just goes at it.
And if you speak to people who have done, basic training in the army or whatever, it is a part of that to switch off parts of your humanity to enable you to murder another human being. Because if you truly did see them as another human being, you would find it
Impossible
to do. Absolutely.
Yeah, which is, look at historically, in the military they have horrific terms for the enemies, like the word they used for the Vietnamese army during Vietnam, the G word, that was to dehumanize, and they weren't people, they were things. And it becomes a lot easier for the military to do that when it's people of a different nationality as well, when there's a physical differences. But it's something that happens in all walks. Like, all victims are, there has to be something different about them.
They are other.
Yeah, that's something that's used as a shield so many times. Like, one that is used so often nowadays is trans panic. I killed them because I found out they were this thing that I didn't expect, so I protected myself by killing them.
And it's their fault because they should have been upfront about it.
If we bring up our biggest example from the discussion, World War II, the entire concept of why so many people agreed to be part of the National Socialistic Party was because the propaganda that compared Jews to rats and black people to subhumans. They are not like us. We are strong. We are powerful. We are the Uber race. So we must save the world and destroy them. That's exactly the point. That's the point that people keep making. They are they. We are we. We must destroy them, because otherwise the world will be contaminated.
Yeah, the only way to protect ourselves is to destroy them.
So I think
But it's okay to destroy them because they're not really people.
They're not like us.
Yeah.
But I think the only way to actually unite the world, which is huge long shot, is to find a global common enemy.
Aliens!
I was thinking more of something more domestic.
You were thinking more, sorry?
Something more domestic, like something we...
Spiders.
No, spiders actually help the environment. Maybe mosquitoes.
No, spiders... I'm sorry, controversial view. They're not animals, they're monsters.
Wow, stop the arachnifying spiders.
And that one listener who carried on to the end has now gone because he's got a million pet spiders, and
Yeah.
I've just ruined everything.
We've blown it. Oh, you've blown it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is never going to be. I can't think of anything that would. You know, I was being flippant when I said
that would do
aliens,
it. That would
but,
do it.
But aliens would actually probably unite a larger proportion of the human race. You know, even if they were benevolent, we'd probably be scared of
Yeah,
them.
but even that, I think it'd probably be the aliens are coming to enslave us. But, you know, they're giving the Tories a load of money, so it's all good. You know, someone somewhere would be on board with it because they'd get something out of it.
Oh yeah, there'll always be collaborators.
Yeah.
Trump is an alien.
Yeah.
Don't insult aliens.
Trump is totally
Sorry,
the best alien. Ask any alien. You know, he's got all the best alien stuff.
He's better at being an alien than any other alien.
Yeah.
And he's got great alien language.
Yeah.
He's got the biggest penis of any alien and the biggest hands.
No, see, being an alien would explain his weird little fetus hands.
And his sentient hair.
Yeah, maybe it's like the brain slugs on Futurama. Brain
Maybe it's
toupees.
Maybe it's like the opposite of Samson. We just need to shave Trump.
No, that would be the same as Samson.
That would be the same as Samson.
But yeah.
Okay, I will try and
There's,
edit that to make you sound better, Hannah, but no promises.
There's a book called Animorphs where aliens control people.
Yes, earworms.
Mind through yerks, which are tiny gray worms that crawl into your brain through your ear. That's Trump. He is the first sign of the yerk invasion.
Makes sense. I buy it.
The yerks are so right wing.
They want to control everything. They don't care how they'll do it. You don't know, maybe Theresa May and Boris Johnson are yerks as well.
Does that mean that I can go and stick a drill in their brain purely for scientific reasons?
I thought we agreed that she's the one that's against murder.
Oh no, I wouldn't be doing it to kill them. If they died, it would be a side effect rather than the intent.
You're talking causation versus correlation.
Yeah, I know. I'm aware that my argument is incredibly flimsy. Have you seen the video that John Cena has done?
The one about common community in the US?
Yeah, it's
awesome.
It's really, really good. He's walking down the street and he's talking about patriotism, and he's saying that patriotism isn't pride in a country, it's love of your country. And if you picture the average American person, it's not who you think it is. And then he kind of breaks it down.
Patriotism. There's a word thrown around a lot. It inspires passionate debate and is worn like a badge of honor, and with good reason. Because it means love and devotion for one's country. Love. For a word designed to unite, it can also be pretty divisive. You see, there's more to patriotism than flag sequin onesies and rodeos and quadruple cheeseburgers. Patriotism is love for a country, not just pride in it. But what really makes up this country of ours? What is it we love? It's more than just a huge rock full of animals like cougars and eagles, right? It's the people. Do me a favor. Close your eyes for a second. I want to try something out. Picture the average U.S. citizen. Think about it. How old are they? What's their hair like? How much can they bench? You got one? Okay. So chances are, the person you're picturing right now looks a little different to the real average American. There are 319 million U.S. citizens. 51% are female. So first off, the average American is a woman. Cool, huh? Is that what you pictured? 54 million are Latino, 40 million senior citizens, 27 million are disabled, 18 million are Asian. That's more people in the U.S. than play football and baseball combined. 9 million are lesbian, gay, bi, transgender, more than the entire amount of people that live in the state of Virginia. Around 10 million are redhead, 5.1 million play ultimate frisbee, and 3.5 million are Muslim. Triple the number of people currently serving in the United States military. Almost half the country belongs to minority groups. People who are lesbian, African American, and bi, and transgender, and Native American, and proud of it. We know that labels don't devalue us, they help define us, keeping us dialed into our cultures and our beliefs and who we are as Americans. After all, what's more American than freedom to celebrate the things that make us, us? I mean, it's stitched into the stars and stripes of this country. From the Constitution to Gettysburg, to our motto, E pluribus unum, from many, one. It's even in our country's name, the United States. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, disability, sexuality, race, religion, and any other labels. Because the second any of us judge people based on those labels, we're not really being patriotic, are we? So let's try this one more time. Close your eyes. Picture the average Joe or Joan or Juan or Jean-Luc. The real people who make America, America. And this year, whenever you feel the urge to don those star-spangled shorts, set off fireworks the size of my biceps to show love for our country, remember that to love America is to love all Americans. Because love has no labels.
Yeah, it's a really powerful, good video.
I really like John Cena. He seems like a genuinely good person.
He does.
Did you know that he holds the record for the biggest amount of people who accepted wishes from the Make-A-Wish Foundation?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, he's done the
that's
most
really
out of
cool.
any celebrity, hasn't he?
That's awesome.
Thank you for joining us for episode 2, where we had a quite in-depth and at times a little worrying discussion about time travel murder babies and right and wrong, and I think it somehow started on Brexit, but who knows. Hopefully you'll be able to join us again for another episode. Addie, Han, hopefully you'll be able to join us as well.
Absolutely.
Hopefully.
So thank you very much everyone for listening, and we'll see you again in the future. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well-
I don't believe in taking life. I think it's okay to wish that people weren't born.
You don't believe in murder, but you believe in the Terminator method of preventing them from being born.